All right, we are going to continue with what we did yesterday, but there's one difference today. Not the one difference, but one of the differences. We will now have variables possibly in our denominator. Yesterday we did not have any variables in there. It's just numbers. So today we want to do it the same way. We want to find the common denominator. So let's start with the numbers, constant terms. Of those, what would our common denominator be? 12, and then there's also an x, our common denominator is going to be 12x. So we'll do it the same way as yesterday. Multiply every single part by your least common denominator. Okay, so that's our first step, find the least common denominator. Second, multiply every single part. So now we go through, cancel the things that will cancel. X will cancel top and bottom. So we're left with 12 times 3. Here, 4 will go into 12. 3 times, so we're going to be left with 3x. I'm going to rewrite it so we don't lose all of it. If you want to circle what's left, sometimes that's helpful so you don't lose it. Here, the 12 will cancel, so we're left with just x. So this first one, we have 12 times 3 is 36. Minus 3x times 1 is just 3x equals x. Okay. So we have a variable both sides. Since we've got both terms on this one, I think the simplest, it'll save us a step. Let's move 3x across. So to get rid of negative 3x, we add 3x. So these cancel. We're left with 36 equals 3x plus 1x, which is 4x. Divide by 4, x equals 9. Okay. So let's do one that's similar. A little bit different. All right, this one we can do 2 ways. We could find the common denominator, or we could think back to the basic proportion. How did we do the basic proportion? Well, our cross products were equal. So we can do that same thing here. To me, that would be much simpler than finding our common denominator. So our common denominator is going to be this. Okay. And that's going to involve more work. So if we just look at it this way, it's going to be a little bit of a simple problem. So 4 times 3 minus x equals 9 times 2 minus x. So we distribute 12 minus 4x is going to equal 18 minus 9x. So equation with the variable on both sides. Let's take, really doesn't matter which one you move, but let's get rid of, I always like to do the smaller one because then you only deal with the positive. So this one's smaller, so how do we get rid of negative 9? So plus 9x plus 9x gives us 9 minus 4 is 5x, positive 5x. So here's our 5x. How can we get rid of positive 12? Subtract 12. So 5x is going to equal 6. Divide by 5. X will be 6 over 5. Okay. So that one, it was simpler not to get the common denominator, which is okay. But let's go ahead and go back to where we do get the common denominator. All right, this is one, make sure I got it all written on this. One of the things we want to look at before we start getting our common denominator, look at your denominators and see if you can simplify it or factor it or anything like that. This one is as simple as it'll go. Let's put parentheses around it. This one, can we break it down at all? Does it have anything common in both terms? Yes, it has b. If we take b out, we're going to get b minus 1. So I'm going to cross that out now. Looking at these two, our common denominator, our LCD, is probably going to be b and b minus 1 because we need both parts that are there. So we want to put that next to each one again. B minus 1, b minus 1, and then eraser. times b minus 1. All right, so here our b cancels, our b minus 1 cancels. Here our b minus 1 cancels, we're only left with that b up there. And then here nothing cancels. So the first one, everything canceled except this 2. Minus, here we have 2 times b, and then here 1 times b. I'm going to go ahead, well, let's just write it out to start, b minus 1. But if we distribute, we get b squared minus b. This is the more involved one. This will obviously be towards your end of the assignment. We have a b squared, so we want to move everything to this side so we can probably look at factoring. So let's add 2b, b squared, that 2b minus b is u plus b. We're going to get rid of this 2 by subtracting 2. So we're left with, I'll rewrite the whole thing, give us some more room. If this cancels and this cancels, all we're left with over here is 0. So we're going to rewrite it, and I'm going to move, flip-flop the order. So using the commutative property, we switch the order. Now we look at, can we factor this? Looking at factors of 2, that subtract to be 1. What are 1 and 2? 2 minus 1 gets us positive 1. And that's what we want. So we get b plus 2, b minus 1, it's still equal to 0. Now how do we figure out what b equals to? Remember. What do we do with each of these factors?
U equals 0.
7 equal to 0. Very good. So b plus 2 equals 0. B minus 1 equals 0. B equals negative 2. Or b equals 1. Okay. So in this case, this tells us again how many answers we should be able to get. Okay, one thing let's go back to as well. Now we need to check these answers. And you'll understand why. If in the denominator, so let's look at this one. Let's start with both of them. We have to go back to what our denominator was. Our denominator was b and b minus 1. So we never want to have a denominator that equals 0. What happens if we divide by 0? The answer, it's undefined, and if you did it on a calculator, it'd say error, so it's not possible, it doesn't work. So if we put in negative 2, we get negative 2 times negative 3, we would get 6. So that's not 0, so that's okay. But now let's try 1 as our denominator. 1, here we get 1 minus 1. What's 1 minus 1? 1 times 0, 0. So that one equals 0, so that can't work. So this, sometimes you're going to get 2 answers, but you need to check them to see if they all work. Okay, so this, in this case, it was, that one did not work, so our only answer is negative 2. Let's say both of them didn't work. What would our answer be? No solution. So if none of your answers work, it's no solution. The other answer where this one would not have worked would have been if x, or excuse me, b was 0, because that would have made that 0, but that wasn't one of our choices. So, but once you get your answers, plug them into the denominator to see if any of them equal 0. If they equal 0, it's not a good answer. It will not work. Okay. So let's start your assignment. So on page 305, 306, 7 through 27 odd. 7 to 27 odd.